Welcome to Texas football days.
A lane down the sideline and running all the way in. It is 62 yards, and Wall is dominating. A big win for the Wall Hawks, ending the Mason home winning streak 47-7.
Since 1901, these two teams have been playing. Wimbish running room to the goal line. He's across for the touchdown. For the 7th consecutive year, the Denison Yellow Jackets will take possession of the old Axe.
The season kicked off in style with stellar performances across the Lone Star State. Defending champions were put on notice, and relative unknowns stepped into the spotlight to announce their presence in 2019. We honor the best of the best from the opening week right here on the Billboard Tough Player of the Week show. And it is the season premiere party where if you thought 3 hours of us on Friday nights was enough, we're going to go ahead and add another 30 minutes. He's the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine, Greg Tepper. I'm Aaron Hardigan. Football is back, and somehow so are we, buddy.
Yeah, contrary to popular demand, we're back. But no, it's good to be back here celebrating the best and brightest in Texas high school football. And what a week one we had. You know, we had 4 state champions go down, upsets all across the state. It was a wild week one, and we're here to put a bow on it and get ready for week 2.
Happy holidays, everyone. Football is back, and as he mentioned, 4 reigning state champs go down. In fact, we're going to take you to the home of the first one. Yes, Gary Joseph and the Katy Tigers were visiting nationally ranked and the reigning 6A Division I state champ, North Shore. Looking for a little revenge, though. We're in the first half. North Shore would be getting that revenge, so to speak. Zach Evans, that's a name to know. He has offers from just about everywhere. So North Shore on top 14-7 into the third when Katy decides it's time to put up or shut up. Ronald bringing him in. Fourth quarter, under 5 to go. Katy down 4, going for it on 4th down tap. Brandon McClellan to Sam Dunn for the go-ahead. Katy comes back to defeat North Shore 24-21, and Gary Joseph afterward.
You know, we got down 2 scores the first half, and we pretty much gave them 2, and we just had to keep fighting and told them at halftime that we were still in the game. We get the ball, start the second half, we score and get right back in the game, and we did. You know, and the kids fought their butts off second half.
Like I told our guys, all of our coaches told our guys, since January for 9 months, this is what we've been working for right here. We knew we had opportunities we missed, but when it came crunch time, we knew how hard we had worked. We knew the stamina that we had that they flat out just didn't. And that's why we came out on top, because of our stamina and the way we've worked for the last 9 months.
Follow that up, buddy.
Yeah, it's good of Bronson McClellan to cut a wrestling promo there at the end of the game. But look, that is a really cathartic win for Katy, because you remember last year they lose 2 games, both to Galena Park, North Shore, and to get that monkey off their back, I think felt really, really good for them. And I don't think it's necessarily really a surprise. You know, this is a Katy team that we had some questions about, but we knew they're going to have a great quarterback in Bronson McClellan. You heard him there. And then we were wondering a little bit about the running game. Well, Ronald Hoff, the running back, the move-in from South Carolina, is the new name to know there in Katy. They start the year 1-0. They looked fantastic doing it, and most importantly, on the defensive side, they were able to bottle up the running game for Galena Park North Shore. We saw Zach Evans score that 1 touchdown. That was basically all they were able to muster in this game. So really impressive stuff, I think, from the Katy defense. Par for the course for a Gary Joseph
I was gonna say,
coach team, but yeah, really impressive.
Making a case as to why he might be the best coach in the state of Texas alongside Randy Allen, who we'll get to. Meanwhile, there were a few defending champs who held their own and at least upheld that title this week.
Let's go to the Piney Woods, where a big-time rivalry, you may remember from Texas football days last year, Longview and Lufkin. This in Lufkin, third quarter, Longview with the lead and the ball. Rodney Moore breaks through the defense, and he is gone. 46 yards to the house. Puts Longview up 16-7. They'll be just fine, right? Well, Lufkin looking to close the gap. And who else? It's the Texas Tech commit, Jalen Polk. He's going to take it. Watch this catch here. Behind the defense, gets in for the score, bringing the Panthers within 4. Then fourth quarter, more from the Panthers. Here is Caleb Berry with a 3-yard rushing touchdown, plunging in, and suddenly Purple Power has the lead at John Otwell Field, 20-17, but Longview would respond, and who else but Haynes King, fighting his way in for the score. Heart of a champion carries them through. Longview takes down Lufkin 23-21. John King and Haynes King pretty happy after this.
We battled for 4 quarters, and we knew that's what it was going to take. But I think our defense played well all night long. You know, gave up a big play to start the game, and then they settled down and played and were pretty dominant most of the game. And, you know, offense kind of got their legs. If it wasn't for missed opportunities in the red zone and turnovers, I mean, we might have won, you know, with a little bit bigger margin and, you know, not put our defense in those pressure situations.
We showed a lot of grit. You know, everybody has bad things happen to them, you know, even the greatest. And it's just how you fight back, because it's a 4-quarter game. You know, one of our mottos this year is one not done. And, you know, we won it last year, but we're not done yet. And our goal is to win it again, you know. We have a lot of doubters. We had a lot of doubters last year. But, you know, our goal is to prove them wrong and keep winning, keep fighting, you know. But the most important thing, you got to respect your enemies, the team you're going against, you know. Lufkin's a heck of a team, and the teams we have coming up are heck of teams. And, you know, it's going to be a battle every game, and we just got to keep fighting back, and, you know, overcome adversity. We'll be fine.
In the words of Rick Renner, the Kings of Longview are back, but are they the favorites in 6A D2 at least?
I think you got to start with them. Of course, they have the crown right now, and they looked the part against a very good 5A team in a rivalry game in Lufkin in week 1. Now, look, Austin Westlake also looked really good, and they're going to go the Division II route as well. So, to me, those are the two that you're going to start with. But remember, Beaumont Westbrook was a team that made it to the title game last year. There are a lot of really, really good squads out there in 6A Division II. For now, I believe it starts with Longview and then Westlake. Well,
and Haynes King, our reigning 6A Player of the Year as well. I'm sure he'll be seeing weekly honors coming up on the show as we roll out our 6A Top 10. You wonder who else could be contending in the entire Class 6A in the state of Texas. And, of course, you have Duncanville sitting at the top. Big win over Lancaster in week 1, and that was nothing to stiff your nose up at.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Duncanville, you know, moving up to number 1 with the fall of North Shore is deserved. They scuffled a little bit in the early going, but found their legs against a very good, talented Lancaster team. Allen took care of business against Cedar Hill. They got a big one this week with a Dickinson squad that wants to hand them their first loss at Eagle Stadium. The teams I'd keep an eye on, 7-8. Denton Geyer, another team in Division II that's going to be very dangerous. Big win over Aledo last week. And then, hey, Atascocita. Atascocita looked really good against Katy Taylor. If you look at Dave Campbell's Texas football's computer rankings, that's the number 1 team in 6A. And they play Katy this week, who's the number 2 team in 6A according to our computer ranking. So to me, Atascocita may be that sleeping giant there in 6A Division I because they looked awful good in week 1.
Well, you saw Westlake Cy Ranch there. That'll be a game we're looking into on Fox Football Friday this week. Shameless plug as we move on to our 6A Player of the Week. That's got to go to Des Forest, who absolutely torched this week for Weatherford. 9 touchdowns, in addition to converting 2 two-point conversions. If you do the math, that's a total of 58 points that he accounted for. 58 points are the 4th most in Texas high school football history and the most points scored by a single player in 11-man football since 1941.
Yeah, you know, and the thing is, Des Forest is not the headliner on this offense. At least he's not supposed to be. He's supposed to be their quarterback. But to me, he really took over, and what I enjoyed watching about this was his vision and his shiftiness. He's a guy who's able to see that cut coming and then make it with exceptional quickness. That was very impressive. And look, when you get into the record books like they did right in this game, 58 points is awful impressive. I mean, you're talking about guys, the only people who outscored him are guys who played in the 30s and the 40s. I mean, this is really impressive to put on that kind of show in their season opener. You want to talk about mid-season form. Des Forest, was in mid-season form and a deserving Player of the Week for the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week.
Well, and he's only listed at 5'7", but he says heart over height is his mantra, and he certainly showed it last week. He is our Built Ford Tough 6A Player of the Week as we move along to Class 5A. And speaking of defending champs that upheld that title this week, we had Highland Park behind Randy Allen, who's giving Gary Joseph a run for his money as best coach in the state, taking on 6A's Rockwall. So a little 5A, 6A clash, and things were looking good for the Jackets early as Trevor Munson took the screen pass from Brandon Locke. Some great blocking, might I add, on the outside as he put Rockwall up 21-7 in the first on the reigning champs, but Randy Allen's squad always responds, don't they? Hunter Heath going all the way. That was a pass from Chandler Morris, who we'll get to, as the Rockwall lead is cut to 10 in the second half. Rockwall wouldn't go away. Zach Henrytep busts out of a scrum in the middle there. 45-44 Rockwall in the third, but too much Chandler Morris in this one. Surprise, surprise. He breaks a 52-52 tie in the fourth as Highland Park survives. And again, Chandler Morris, the son of Arkansas head coach Chad Morris, who is actually committed to the Razorbacks as well, accounted for a Highland Park record 664 total yards with 9 total touchdowns in that win test.
He was really sensational in a game where they needed every little bit of his magic. And look, we saw this last year with their run to a state championship. This is a guy who is a dynamic playmaker in every aspect. The thing I really like about him, and I think the thing that is really underrated about Chandler Morris, is he is just, it's like you built a quarterback in a lab as far as a throwing motion is concerned. It's really impressive to see him. His accuracy is really excellent as well. And this was a guy that they needed every little bit from him last week. And look, they're going to outscore some people. They've got a lot of offensive weapons, starting with Chandler Morris. And surprise, surprise, he's committed to Arkansas. I have no idea why, but of course his dad, the coach there, Chad Morris. But this is a guy that I think is getting better and better. We saw him really show out last year in the state championship game against Alvin Shadow Creek. He looks like he is on his way to doing it again. An outstanding start to Chandler Morris and a deserving winner of the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week.
Well, and keep in mind as we roll out our 5A top 10, he had to fill the large shoes of John Stephen Jones, who brought him back-to-back titles, and he is not skipping a beat. So Highland Park sitting atop there. Who else could be contenders in this class?
I mean, Denton Ryan, but at the same time, you just wonder if they just have their number. I mean, Highland Park has knocked out Denton Ryan the last 3 years. The team I'm really interested in here is Richmond Foster. Richmond Foster, this is the best team that Sean McDowell has had down there at Foster. He feels like they've got the playmakers on both offense and defense to really make a run. Now look, 5A Division I is Highland Park's until they say it isn't. And you know, we talk so much about what it takes to beat a team like Highland Park. You have to play 48 consecutive great minutes. You cannot let up. And just ask John Tyler from last year. You've got to be able to finish. And last year, nobody was able to finish against the champs. I want to see if there's a team that can take them to the brink. Now we saw Rockwall kind of take them to the brink, really challenge them. That's not a surprise from a team coached by Rodney Webb. But I'll tell you, this Highland Park team has superstars this year, between Chandler Morris and then Prince Dorba on the defensive side. This is a Highland Park team you want to keep an eye on, going for something very few teams have done, which is 4 in a row.
Well, congrats to Chandler Morris and Des Forrest, our 5A and 6A Built Ford Tough Players of the Week, respectively. As up next here on the show, we reveal our 3A and 4A winners. In fact, one is a baseball prospect who demonstrated how catching translates to quarterbacking. That is next on the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week show. The Built Ford Tough Player of the Week show is brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas. Aaron and Tab welcoming you back to the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week show, where each week we celebrate the best players and even some of the best games of the week. In fact, I was on hand for Argyle and Stephenville last week, and we had a bunch of baseball prospects out there showing that success on the gridiron, or on the diamond rather, translates to the gridiron.
Yeah,
and those Argyle Eagles.
Argyle certainly looked the part of a contender in 4A Division I in their opener. Let's go to the highlights. Argyle and Stephenville. With Aaron Hardigan on hand, I'm surprised they could focus. I mean, geez, she's such a supernova.
Let me
First quarter, Eagles with the ball. Bo Hogaboom hits Alex Gonzalez across the middle, putting the Argyles up 21-love. Then more from the Eagles and Hogaboom. This time throwing it just past the defender. Look at this accuracy to Kate Mekra for the Eagle touchdown. Argyle in complete command, and then the defense would do the rest. Coming up with the pick here, and this is what they in the business call a pick six, because it's the interception and then a touchdown. Eagles roll against Stephenville 42-0. Awful impressive.
So here's so a bunch of baseball prospects, right? Behind like a monstrous offensive line, that helps. So Bo Hogaboom, our 4A Player of the Week, is committed to catch at the University of Houston, Tep, but he showed off the arm, the footwork, the release, the reads. He demonstrated that catching can translate to quarterbacking.
The thing that impresses me about Bo Hogaboom is even just seeing this first week highlights. This is a kid who's very clearly grown in the role. We saw him playing quarterback for Argyle last year, and don't get me wrong, the talent has always been there, but it seems like there has been some polish put on him, and there were some throws there that, plain and simple, not a lot of quarterbacks at the 4A level are able to make, and that's what impressed me most about about Bo Hogaboom going on the road, taking on a Stephenville team that has eyes on an upset. And now, look, a big game this week. Argyle goes to Belle Meade to take on Waco La Vega for the third time in basically a calendar year. Going to be a lot of fun to see that, but when you got Bo Hogaboom at the helm, you're going to have a great shot. Argyle looking very solid right now.
Well, and Hogaboom and Alex Gonzalez and company riding back-to-back state baseball titles for Argyle, looking to bring Todd Rogers some football hardware as well as we roll out a 4A top 10. So you see La Vega, their next opponent sitting up the top there. And again, that's a rematch of last year's 4A Division I quarterfinal, and Argyle is licking its chops to get to that one.
Yeah, this is a game that, remember, they played in twice last year, and they split them. Argyle won the regular season matchup at Argyle, and then La Vega won the one that, really mattered in the playoffs. This is going to be a big physical game between two teams that like to go out there and mash. Keep an eye on Carthage and Liberty Ilo. I think Liberty Ilo is a team that could be on the rise. And then the other one I'm going to throw out there, number 9 Lampasas. They got a playmaker named Ace Whitehead who can do it all. Keep an eye on the Badgers. This could be their best team in many, many years.
Well, if I'm going to believe anyone, it's going to be the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine over here. So congrats to Bo Hogaboom, who took home 4A Player of the Week honors this week. As we move along to 3A, and that's got to go to Brock Aschenbeck. He's a senior running back and linebacker out of Sonora. One of the best 2A players in 3A TEP, if not all of Texas. So he racked up over 300 yards on the ground with 5 scores last week, while remaining on the field defensively, recording 13 solo tackles, 3 assisted, 2 for loss, and a sack at linebacker. What doesn't he do?
I mean, maybe stir the Gatorade. This guy did a little bit of everything, but that's such a 3A line, right, where he's carrying the ball. He's got 23 carries for 306 yards, and then he gets back on the field and he plays defense. But that's kind of what you've come to expect, not only from 3A, but also from a place like Sonora. That's a program that prides itself on having guys go both ways and playing defense as well as offense. But you don't usually see those kinds of numbers, and that's what's so impressive to see from the Broncos in week 1. And look, Sonora is a program that I think the past couple of years have not necessarily been up to their standard. This is a program that wants to succeed at the highest level, but when you got a guy like Brock Aschenbeck, you're going to have a chance. He was awful impressive and a deserving winner of the Player of the Week award.
A hats off to a 2-way star in 3-way, Brock Aschenbeck. As we roll along here on the Built for Tough Player of the Week show, up next, it's 2A and private school. A 2-way star, as well as our private school winner who might have had a little help tap from one Hall of Famer on the sideline. We'll tell you about that next. The Built for Tough Player of the Week show is brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas. Well, taking home Class 2A Player of the Week honors is Kendre Miller, senior running back of Mount Enterprise, who in a 56-20 win over Colmesneil took just 14 carries for over 400 yards and 7 touchdowns. In fact, scored on 5 straight carries at one point. Greg Tepper, he also had 10 tackles and a fumble recovery defensively, so another 2-way 2A star here.
Yeah, when you're averaging 29 yards a carry, things are going pretty well for you. And Kendre Miller was on fire in their opener against Colmesneil. And look, this is an offense that is going to dominate, I think. You've got some guys up front that are going to blow open some holes. But the other thing that's impressive to me is the defensive side of it. This is a guy who's very strong in run support. This is, I believe, playing at the safety position, but this is a kid who they're going to ask to do a lot, especially at a program like that, especially at Mount Enterprise, where they're not going to have the kind of depth that you would have at 5A, 6A programs. They're going to ask him to do a lot and pretty much never leave the field. And when you're putting up 400 yards and you're putting up 10 tackles, I would say mission accomplished to you, Kendre Miller. An outstanding week 1. Better get used to it, because I think that they're going to be leaning on that kid pretty hard this year.
Well, listen, and I can tell you, Kendre has plenty of great coaching coming from that sideline, but none greater than maybe what Preston Morway, our private school Player of the Week, had on his sidelines this week. He's a senior quarterback of Episcopal School of Dallas. Over 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns, 5 through the air. More importantly, though, he had one Troy Aikman in his ear. How, you ask? Well, Aikman was on the sidelines volunteer coaching his stepson, Val Moody, who is also a member of Episcopal School of Dallas.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. And I'll say, whenever you've got a Hall of Famer in your ear, things are going to go pretty well with you. But to me, the thing that I was really impressed with about Episcopal School of Dallas was they were pushing the ball down the field. They were absolutely trying to get the ball deep and run these deep routes. This was not a lot of like dink and dunk passes. They were taking deep shots, and he was on the money with all of them. Really impressive stuff there in their week 1 win over Trinity Christian Addison, which again, another program that is known for having big-time playmakers. So this is not doing it against some program you've never heard of. This is doing it against a really good program there in the Addison area at Trinity Christian. So a very impressive week debut for him. And look, when you got a guy like that on the sideline, I mean, I think you're just trying to go out there and impress him. And I would say that Troy Aikman had to come away pretty impressed with what they saw the signal caller do. Not
bad having a Hall of Famer watching the sideline. Also, no pressure from them. It is the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week show. So a congrats to Preston Morway, as well as our 2A star Kendre Miller, as we take a look at who we're keeping an eye on for next week. Tepper, and we got a Jim Ned. We got a Jim Ned product. Josh Kelso, senior safety and running back.
Yeah, let's go to Tuscola and talk about Josh Kelso. This kid was impressive. I got a message on Twitter from his coach Aaron Kirby about this. Said you're not going to believe what this guy did in the win over Coleman. 8 tackles, 3 picks, and a rushing touchdown. More importantly, look at what he's doing in the classroom. 3.9 GPA, doing a lot of stuff with elementary school kids. An impressive kid and an impressive player too.
Yeah, again, this show is all about celebrating success on and off the gridiron, as well as some top games we'll be bringing you this week on Fox Football Friday, including a few nail-biting rematches we'll fill you in on after this on the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week show. The Built Ford Tough Player of the Week show is brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas. All right, here's some nail-biting rematches coming your way in week 2, Tep. Who we like?
The 2 games to keep an eye on here, Westlake and Cy Ranch. Sean McAuliffe looked great in his debut with Cy Ranch. Can he take on Todd Dodge and the Westlake Shaps? That's going to be really fun. And at the bottom, Gladewater and Atlanta. Atlanta started off slow last year, but if they get a big win this week over Gladewater, you got to keep an eye on them in the 3A ranks.
Argyle said that 4A Division I quarterfinal loss to La Vega last year was what fueled their off season. That said, La Vega moved the quarterback that led them to the state championship to the secondary. That's going to be a fun one, and we'll bring it to you on Fox Football Friday, because if this wasn't enough for you, we got 3 hours coming your way, 8 o'clock, right here on your home for all things Texas high school football. It's Fox Sports Southwest and the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week season premiere. We appreciate you joining us and look forward to seeing you next time.